Trevor Milton built a truck company worth more than Ford without ever selling a truck. At its peak, Nikola had a market cap of nearly $30 billion. He wanted to beat Elon Musk. Instead, he got a fraud conviction and 4 years in prison. Milton was a Utah entrepreneur who had bounced through a couple of natural gas vehicle startups before founding Nikola in 2014. He named it after Nikola Tesla, which tells you something about the size of the ambition. The pitch was huge from day one. Hydrogen-powered trucks, zero emissions, a complete overhaul of commercial freight. He wasn't an engineer, he was a salesman, and he was very good at making future plans sound like current facts. The first big moment came in December 2016 with the Nikola One unveil. Milton rolled out a sleek hydrogen-electric semi and called it a fully functioning vehicle. The crowd saw a truck that looked ready to change the industry. It got press, it got attention, and it planted the idea that Nikola wasn't just a pitch deck, it was building something real. Then in 2018, Nikola released a promotional video called Nikola One in Motion, showing the truck cruising smoothly down a 2-lane road in the desert. A hydrogen-powered semi, moving under its own power, the future of freight arriving ahead of schedule. For investors and fans, it was the proof they'd been waiting for. Some engineers and industry watchers quietly raised eyebrows. The video seemed too clean, too short, and never showed the truck accelerating or climbing. But the hype drowned out the skepticism. In June 2020, Nikola went public through a SPAC merger, raised $525 million, and started trading as NKLA. The timing was perfect. Tesla had trained investors to chase the next electric vehicle revolution. Pandemic-era retail traders were flooding the market looking for the next big thing, and SPACs had made it easier than ever for a company with no revenue to go public. On June 8th, shares surged 103% in a single day, and Nikola's market cap briefly hit $30 billion, more than Ford. A company with no revenue, no finished product, and a promotional video powered by gravity was suddenly worth more than a company that had spent over a century actually making cars. Milton's personal stake was worth roughly $12 billion. Milton kept feeding the hype. TV interviews, podcasts, social media, company presentations, he claimed Nikola had breakthrough battery technology it had built in-house, binding orders worth billions, and trucks that worked. Prosecutors later said the batteries were actually bought from a third party, and many of his claims were either exaggerated or outright false. His own finance chief later testified at trial that executives staged an intervention, sitting Milton down and telling him to stop making false statements in public. He didn't stop. In September 2020, General Motors announced a $2 billion strategic partnership that included an 11% stake in Nikola and plans for a pickup truck called the Badger. That was rocket fuel. When a company like GM puts its name next to yours, most investors stop asking questions. 4 days later, the floor gave way. On September 10th, Hindenburg Research published a report titled Nikola: How to Parlay an Ocean of Lies into a Multi-Billion-Dollar Publicly Listed Company. It was devastating. Point by point, the report dismantled everything Milton had built his image on. The promotional video, the one that had convinced thousands of investors the truck was real? The truck had been towed to the top of a hill and filmed rolling down under gravity. It was never driving under its own power. The driver's only job was steering and braking. The Unveil in 2016, the fully functioning vehicle? Prosecutors later confirmed the doors had to be taped shut to keep them from falling off, and the batteries were removed entirely to prevent the risk of fire or explosion. The breakthrough batteries Milton claimed were built in-house, bought from a third party. The hydrogen production breakthroughs? Overstated or non-existent. And once people saw that the truck in the hero video was just rolling downhill, everything else unraveled fast. Nikola pushed back at first, calling the report misleading. But within days, they admitted the video showed the truck was not driving under its own propulsion. That one sentence did more damage than the entire Hindenburg report. The company was now confirming the core accusation itself. The stock collapsed. GM shrank the deal and eventually canceled the Badger. The SEC and Department of Justice opened investigations. 2 weeks after the report, Milton resigned as executive chairman. He still held 91.6 million shares worth about $3.1 billion on paper. The man leaving under accusations that his company's most famous truck couldn't drive was walking away a billionaire. Among the investors who got hurt were people who had no prior experience in the stock market, people who had started trading during COVID lockdowns to replace lost income or pastime. They saw a company valued higher than Ford, a partnership with GM, a founder on every podcast, and they bought in. Prosecutors said some lost their retirement savings. Others had borrowed money to invest in Nikola. One victim named in court filings, Peter Hicks, lost $15.2 million. In total, retail investor losses were estimated at more than $660 million. Nikola's shares, which had peaked above $79, eventually fell below $1. In July 2021, Milton was arrested and indicted on securities and wire fraud. He was released on $100 million bail. The company itself paid a $125 million SEC settlement, meaning Nikola's remaining shareholders were paying for the lies its founder had told. A jury convicted him in October 2022. At sentencing in December 2023, Milton sobbed on the stand, quoted Bible verses, invoked Cherokee ethnic cleansing, brought up Reuben Hurricane Carter, and described colors in heaven that don't exist on earth. He told the judge, "As my intent was not to harm others. Let me have probation." He never apologized. His defense said he wasn't trying to commit fraud. He simply wanted to be loved and praised like Elon Musk. He got 4 years. He never served a day. While free on bond, he and his wife donated over $3 million to Republican campaigns in the final month before the 2024 election, including nearly $2 million to a Trump re-election fund. On March 27, 2025, President Trump issued a full pardon. 2 weeks earlier, prosecutors had asked the court to order $680 million in restitution to the investors Milton had defrauded. Because of the pardon, the court can no longer order any of it. Peter Hicks, who lost $15.2 million, gets nothing. The retail investors who lost $660 million get nothing. At a press conference, Trump said Milton did nothing wrong. Enjoyed this story? Leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Now you know.